Hello everyone. So just as the video title says, this is a video talking about this project, this Targaryen dress that I have made. Don't mind that on the wall, that's just bits of sticky tack. So this first clip is filmed with my phone just because I can't stand far away enough with my Canon for you to see the full length of the dress in the camera shot like this, so I just wanted to get some footage in the video of you seeing the entire dress in the same clip. This is what the back looks like. And this back panel piece is a little bit longer, so if it seems longer in the back, it is. It's supposed to be. If you've actually seen the two dresses that Daenerys wore that most inspired this dress, you would notice that the back of those dresses is longer than the front as well. With this project and other projects that I do that are clothing projects which are fandom based, I think I would like to try to discuss the projects in ways where I don't spoil anything, so that people that haven't watched this stuff can still see the project that I made without any spoilers. So I am going to talk about this project without spoiling anything plot-wise. Obviously, in order to talk about the different elements that went into the design, I would then have to talk about design elements from the costumes that inspired this. So I guess that means that you are getting some costume spoilers, but no plot spoilers anyway. Okay, as you can see, underneath the collar there is sort of a cravat. I just did a basic knot. I didn't actually tie it like a cravat because I don't know how to do that. The little swoop down here, usually with a lot of Daenerys' costumes, the swoop would connect all the way to the seam where the cap sleeve begins, but I'm not trying to make any replicas here, so I just did it how I wanted to do it. Some of the dresses that she wore of this style did have sleeves that were almost in a bell shape, where they were definitely more open, but none of them were quite this big. None of them opened up like this, and had that much open airflow at the bottom. But that's how I wanted to do it. I wanted to play with the shape, and at the little opening here on both sides I did this little detail that it's supposed to look kind of like a dragon wing, and the underside of the sleeves has this same red sort of satiny fabric that is on the capped sleeves and the collar here with the cravat. Now, at the collar there is a line of more of those same beads. Also along the top of the collar there's a section of the collar with that satin fabric, and then there's a section here with a type of embroidery that was done on some of Daenerys' dresses. I forget what it's called, but I did this before I purchased a embroidery hoop, so you can kind of see here the fabric isn't completely straight underneath it, but it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't bother me that much. And along the crossover here, we have the lines of these straight beads coming together, cascading down until it becomes a single row right at the end there. So the capped sleeves here is smocked with a particular style of smocking that used to be called arrow smocking, but because of its use in Daenerys's costumes in Game of Thrones, it's now referred mostly to as dragon scale smocking because it does look like scales when you are finished. The way that the smocking is done is essentially you make a few little, not stitches, but you grab onto a few different points with the thread using the sewing needle, and you pull them together and then make a knot so that it keeps the shape. And you do that on a grid, a pattern grid. And then once you're done, and you've done that multiple times next to each other in rows, and then you iron it, it looks like this. So I have that for the appearance of scaliness, but then I also have these little kind of scaly looking beads. If it would just focus for me. Why are you not focusing? Let's try this side. Yeah, so I have some here. I think I should have had a little bit more covering the area, but I did up against them and also beside them have some more of those sort of cylinder beads, and then a little bit of embroidery thread going along the outside of it. For the cap sleeves, the way that I drafted the pattern was probably not the way I should have drafted it, because I drafted the piece going from the very bottom up until the top here, and then later on the piece underneath that the longer sleeve is sewn onto comes down and is joined by this very obvious stitch there on the side of the dress, and it's showing up more on camera. It doesn't look like this in person, but because I used dark thread and had already used red acrylic paint for the stripes, I used a little bit of white paint to cover up the dark thread that I used, and it is showing up a lot more on camera. It does not look like that in person, so don't worry about it. But for the red stripes, my one issue is that it's acrylic paint, and when you paint fabrics, you should use fabric paint, and if you don't have fabric paint, you should mix it with what's called textile medium, because it turns it into fabric paint, essentially. And I do have craft stores and stuff in town, but they're not like a Michael's where you can walk in and find basically anything you would need. So I just didn't get textile medium, and I used the red acrylic paint as it is. So that might come back to bite me. But the part where I got lucky is that this white fabric that I picked up at the thrift store already had stripes on it. I don't know if you can actually see that, but there are some darker stripes that you can see underneath the red paint. So, yeah, I did try to make the cap sleeves into the shape that they typically are with Daenerys's dresses, where it goes down and then goes up a little bit. But I don't really have the materials required to really create that shape. So the cap sleeves do look a little bit flat, but that's okay. Not trying to create any replicas here, so that's fine. So we'll take a look at the back for a second. With the back panel has this entirely different red fabric, and if I step back a little bit, I did measure, but for some reason it was still a little bit too wide, and so there's that dart there bringing it into the shape that it's mostly supposed to be. It's supposed to be a little bit more angled. It looks a little bit more of a softer shape, but it still looks good. And what I had noticed in a lot of the reference photos of Daenerys's dresses was that it looked like the back panel was not attached all the way down to the front pieces because of the way that I could see them blowing in the wind in some scenes. So this is sewn at the waist, and then the pieces are not attached after that. And the reason for that is, well, the reason for that, I think the way that it's designed in the show is that she needs something that is long, that will kind of shelter her legs from the wind, but something that can open up easily in order to quickly get on horseback or dragonback. And if you have a floor-length dress or coat that doesn't have a lot of openings, that becomes a problem. And if it's all sewn together and connected as one piece with only one opening, like in the front, this little opening in the front, if it only has that one opening and wind gets in through that opening, it will blow the whole thing back. Sort of like when a bell has the little thing in the middle, if it bangs against the bell, the whole bell will move. If wind gets in the one opening, it will blow the whole thing back and your legs won't be as covered. But if the wind can go through and exit out the openings, then the pieces are not going to get blown away as much and will remain a little bit more stationary, which is good for, you know, keeping your legs as warm as possible while also having the functionality of movability and being able to you know, get on the horse or get on the dragon without having to like move and shift around what you're wearing. So I really like that design element. So this dress is mostly complete. It is pinned in place because I don't have any sort of clasp or closure for the front piece that overlaps there. Just because I'm on a medication that has caused some weight loss and that has not stopped yet. So I don't really want to completely finish something like this that is super structured when I know that that means that I'll probably have to make an alteration later. So depending on, you know, whenever in the future when I feel I can complete this little opening here might sit a little farther along, or it might stay where it's placed there. So for now you just see it on the dress form pinned in place, but eventually you will see me wear it. One last thing I want to talk about is that this project is a little bit different than some of the other clothing projects that you have seen and will see on my channel, because the other clothing projects, even the other fandom-based ones, are different from this. Essentially, even though I do YouTube for fun, there are things on the internet that I have done that weren't really for leisure, but were just things that I really felt the need to do, and one of those things was activism. So I do have an activist account on Instagram, and I've taken a step back. I've taken a little bit of a break from it right now, just because I'm really trying to grow YouTube right now, and the algorithm wasn't really allowing the important documents on important issues that I was like writing about on that account to really get to people, so it kind of made it feel like that time was wasted. So I've taken a break from it, but it is important to who I am as a person, and it is an extension of my identity, because I wanted my activism account to be unique, and so I basically took on the activist name, the feminist Targaryen, which then became Femtar for short, as my nickname. So my nickname is Femtar, and so for me, my plans have always been eventually that in between the posts on Instagram that are posts of the documents on subjects that I write that are written on Google Docs, and then some of them get posted to Instagram, or some of them it's just like the link to it is in a post, that in between some of those posts that I would have photos eventually of me in Targaryen style outfits with like the blonde wig and everything, as sort of a way to really attract people to the page and therefore attract them to the important things that I'm posting about, so that maybe it can get pushed in the algorithm a little bit more because there's like a theme to it to keep people interested. And I also thought eventually I could create some designs like this to make and then auction, like for charity. So I definitely will make lots that are just for me to keep and wear, but I would like to make some for charity as well. So that's something I would like to do in the future, but I just really can't dedicate the time to that page now because I really want to and need to work on YouTube right now. And all of the bad things in the world kind of made me feel like the little activism that I was doing online was kind of inadequate, and the algorithm not pushing it made me kind of feel like for right now this feels pointless, but some of my YouTube audience may want to help me out with that in the future once I've actually built the audience here. So yeah, I'm always Femtar, always, but I just don't really have a lot of time for that part of myself right now with everything else I'm working on. But talking about this dress and talking about my activism and my like name in the activism world, which is also my nickname, like I said, on my YouTube account is really nice because I don't think that I opened up about that part of myself yet on here, so I'm happy to share that with you. So hopefully it won't be too far into the future that you'll actually see me wear this with the silvery blonde wig. I can't wait for that. So thank you for watching this, and thank you to all of my subscribers that I have so far for all the support. You're amazing.